Hi there, welcome. Welcome to Homekeepers. How are you, my friend? So good to be with you today. And so wonderful to connect the various ways we do. Some of you write to us email or snail mail or just to sit in front of the camera and know that we are connecting is wonderful. And thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your encouragement. It's really special when somebody writes a note of encouragement. And I thank you for that. You're going to love today's program. I have a return guest and a very fine writer, author, Pastor Larry Duggar, and he's from Lebanon, Missouri, in the Ozarks. I'm very, very familiar with that beautiful part of the country. And we welcome him back to talk about He Calls Me Friend. Now, look how classy that is. Got a little leather on the front, a little denim on the back. This is a devotional for men. And reading through it, I really think it has kind of the style and the subject matter that might grab a man's attention. And so I'll have him explain, you know, is it different to write one for ladies or gentlemen or whatever? But I've mentioned to you before, I am a connoisseur of devotionals. I have them in the morning, have them in the evening, and so thankful for the great variety out there and wonderful writers that write something that we can just put in our soul every single day. So we'll talk to him about this. And Wanda's with me today. Couldn't get along without Wanda, that's for sure. We're going to fix, and this is what it's called, a carrot cake banana bread. It's kind of an odd thing, but it really is a quick bread is what it is. And so anxious to taste it. If you could have smelled it when it was baking, you would want to taste it as well. Before I join her, though, I want to again offer you this just a little booklet here by Beth Moore, and it's The Promise of Security. I really, truly believe we have never, ever lived in such insecure times. As you know, I've got 8 great-grandchildren. I got one that's going to be coming and joining us in October. And when I think of how we raised our children and how it is today, and we have to lock everything and put security cameras everywhere and all, doesn't lend to security, does it? She's got some great titles in here, and don't you like a book that you can, you know, grab the thought and have it when life seems unpredictable, when you long to be healthy, when you lack confidence, when you're alone, when you're looking for love, when you are searching for significance and value, when you need strength and dignity, when your relationships need a boost, when you need to set boundaries, when you're searching for an identity, when you're feeling unlovable, when you're tired of competition and conflict, when you need Christ's saving power. All of that in that book. And so it's yours for any gift to this ministry. And I think it's something that could really bless your life. You know, sometimes just a sentence, just a word can change things for you. And most of you are familiar with what a wonderful speaker and writer Beth Moore is. So 1-800-229-0059 if you use your credit card. And also our address is on your screen if you still use the snail mail like I do, Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758. And I've never asked Wanda, do you use the snail mail? See, Stephanie does everything online and all.
Yeah.
I still write out the envelope and put the stamp on it. What do you do?
I do half and half.
Do you?
But I don't have that many bills.
Uh-huh.
But I'm trying to get over to do everything online.
Oh.
But yeah.
I
so.
doubt if I'll do that. All right. What
don't
I'm
think?
going to do, I'm going to fix the topping in a minute, but I've got to finish mashing bananas.
All right.
Okay.
And I'm going to do the bread part of it, kind of the cake part. So this is a half a cup of melted butter. Here we're going to add, I think that's 3/4 cup of sugar.
Sorry if I make a little noise here.
Oh, please. And Arthelene, they don't always put the full amount of sugar in. I think you can cut that down a little bit
Oh, yeah,
so you don't have to do that.
Because
We're
I
gonna
read
mix
that
that
somewhere
in.
and it works.
It does work, especially with your bananas being sweet.
Oh, yes.
I'm not so sure I've had banana and carrot
No.
in the same thing,
I
but
haven't either.
you know, okay, just saying.
All right, I think that's good enough for you, and I'll start on the frosting.
I need to crack these eggs.
Which is a combination of cream cheese and butter and powdered sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I bet you'd like the mixer, wouldn't you?
yeah, but I'll keep going as long as you have it.
Yeah, I have it.
But what's better than a cream
Some
cheese
milk?
topping?
Vanilla. Oh, well, nothing. It's just wonderfully yummy.
Got a little vanilla in it.
Okay.
Have you noticed the recipes now are calling for kosher salt?
Yeah, well, a lot of them have, yeah.
I think I can see why.
You think?
Yeah. I like the consistency better, and I think it tastes better.
This is cinnamon and nutmeg, by the way.
Nutmeg and cinnamon. If you request this recipe, you'll get everything.
I'm telling you, I have to admit, I had people coming into my office and saying, have you checked that whatever it is in the oven? Because it sure smells good. And so it does smell really wonderful with the cinnamon and the nutmeg. The seasonings for sure smell really yummy.
Well,
Okay.
I'm going to put some
How you coming?
frosting on the one that was
This is 2 cups of flour.
smelling so good. 2 cups of flour, right?
Yep.
Well, I think anybody that has watched this program very much, they know I love quick bread with my tea.
You do.
I love it.
And what is your favorite? I know your all-time flavor that you love is lemon.
Yes. And we have done some lemon.
You have a lot of
Quick
lemon,
breads, yeah.
actually. Yeah. I'm gonna just put all
Yeah,
this
every
in here
time
and
I
pray.
look at a lemon recipe, I think Wanda and Stephanie go, there she goes again.
Yeah, there. Yep, that's exactly
That's what
right.
you do.
Neither one of us really care that much for it, so there you go.
This is an awfully big recipe for the icing, so you might want to, I think if you cut it in half, it would be fine.
Okay, this is almost mixed. Not quite, but almost. And
Well-
then the very last thing that we do is we're gonna just fold in the carrots. Oh, you know what I need?
What?
I need those bananas. I'm like thinking
Oh, here
this
we
is
go.
really hard. Oh, I have a spatula there.
Okay, the spatula.
Here, right here.
There we go.
Oh gosh, what are we, Lucille and Ethel here?
I think maybe
I think so.
you nailed it. I think you nailed it for sure.
All right, quickie, get this in here.
I'm going to get a plate here so that I can taste it.
You need to do that. And then I'm just gonna fold in the carrots and the pecans, the chopped pecans. And I think that's a 1/4 cup, actually. You can
All
write
right.
us for the recipe for sure.
Our recipes are, I'm going to take a slice out of the center here, be more moist. And we bake this in a Pyrex, so
It's a 9-inch loaf pan.
but you lower the,
Yes, because it's glass, so it's,
Okay.
if it says 350, it's 325.
okay?
I know it's good. Lord
It's
help
wonderful.
me. I can't even have a bite of it. Thank you very much.
Well, you have a lot of
You take a
willpower.
bite for me.
A lot of willpower. If you would like this recipe, the information is coming up on your screen, and we'll get it out to you any way that's best for you. And after this, I want you to meet my wonderful friend who's here for the second time from Lebanon, Missouri, Pastor Larry Duggar. So stay with us.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, you may receive it by contacting us through social media as listed on the screen. When requesting a copy through the mail, be sure to include a self-addressed stamped envelope. Thank you, and please know we always appreciate hearing from our viewers.
I'm pleased to welcome back to the program Pastor Larry Duggar. What's springtime in the Ozarks like?
It is. The trees are waking up.
Are they?
They are. It's a beautiful time. Dogwoods are in full bloom.
We have summer in Florida.
Yeah. I'm noticing that.
Yes. Yes, it's supposed to get very hot today, and it's only April. Last time you were here, we talked about 40 Days to Defeat Your Past. Great title. Kind of just remind us, what that book was about. Whatever's back there, whether it's had addiction or any kind of failure.
Absolutely, absolutely. That book is for those who are struggling with maybe I think we call those strongholds. You know, a stronghold is anything that has a stronghold on you. And there are a lot of people that go to church and they love God, but they have things in their lives that won't budge. And so that book is all about, hey, let's carve out 40 days. Let's figure out how we're going to get a battle plan together. Let's confront that behavior in you and move you past that. And so that's...
So when you get the battle plan, does it usually involve someone else? Like
sometimes
an
it does.
accountability person?
Everyone's kind of in a different place. And sometimes you need that professional counselor or maybe just a friend that you trust that you can confide in. But a lot of times it's just about getting in the trenches with the person that you no longer want to be. Rolling up your sleeves and just facing the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror and saying, I'm tired of this and I'm ready to move past this in my life. And I think that's the first step, just wanting to be done with that part of you so that you can walk in God's best.
And why 40 days?
Well, Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness facing the devil. So if Jesus can spend 40 days facing the devil, we probably have a devil or two in our lives that we need to spend facing as well. So I think it's just a great
Would you
model.
like to know the details of Jesus in the wilderness?
I would.
That's a quick story you can go right past, but 40 days is a long time.
Absolutely, and to be fasting, and to be by yourself, facing off with your greatest opponent. I can't imagine.
What kind of feedback have you received from that book?
That book has done very well. In fact, it is still selling, and a lot of recovery groups and prisons, a lot of jail ministries have adopted that.
Oh, wow.
A couple of the large churches where I live have made that their curriculum for their new believers classes. And so it's done really well.
Well, I thank God for writers that are gifted like you, and because those of us who like to read can benefit so much. One more thing I read about you. Are you writing something, a series for the Discovery Channel?
I am. I'm writing a series of books right now called Raised Hunting, and these are action adventure stories, faith-based that revolve around the Holder family. And the first one of those books will be releasing in July. It's full of wild game recipes and just how to connect with your Creator while you're outdoors.
And you know, that's a wonderful place. Florida's beautiful, and I've sensed that so many times, just seeing a bird out in my backyard. All that reminds you of the Creator. How do you have time to do all this? You pastor a large
busy
church.
guy. I do. I have a great staff of people that are back home taking care of everything for me while I'm gone and also helping me through the week while I'm writing.
All right, this book is out for Father's Day, right?
It is. It just released.
It's called He Calls Me Friend, 90 Devotions for Men. And of course, my first question is, how do you get men to read devotions? Because I know that it's not hard to get women to. So do you have you unlocked a secret?
Well, I don't know if I've unlocked a secret. I know that you have to talk to men about things that they want to talk about. And so when I got ready to write that particular book, I have two sons. My oldest son, Trent, is 23, and my youngest son, Pate, is 18. And so I was thinking about them and thinking about how would I want them to see Jesus? How would I want them, as they grow into the men that God has called them to be, how do I want them to connect with Jesus as a friend?
How old are they now?
That's how old they are, 23 and 18.
Okay.
And so so I was thinking about them the whole time that I was writing this, and I think as pastors, and I say as pastors because I am one, I think we don't always do a great job presenting Jesus as the man that he was. We see him as God, we see him as a miracle worker, and he was all of those things, and that's awesome. But I think we forget that Jesus didn't just go on mission trips, he also went on fishing trips. And he loved to spend time with his disciples. He did life with them. He chose 12 other men that he could connect with, and you could find Jesus fishing with them all night. You could find him sitting around the campfire, talking, laughing, telling stories. he enjoyed the outdoors, all things that men like to do. And so those are the stories that I took from the scripture. Jesus in his natural environment every day, just doing life with the people that he loved. And I think we can do that same thing with the people that we love, and we can also connect with him on a deeper level when we see him as being just a real person.
I'm a preacher's kid and a former preacher's wife, and boy, it's not hard to get women to rally in the church. And I've talked to pastors about this, that if you want to get something done, women will do it. They will. I think women fall at the cross a little easier. Could be the emotional makeup, whatever. But I once heard about a local pastor here who changed all of that. He had a big bus ministry. Said the only people working it were the new converts. It was killing them. They were getting back to their families late in the afternoon, and so he made a lot of changes. He said, we made sure kids had a ride to church, but he decided to major on the men. And he developed programs and retreats and things for men. And it grew so, it had waiting lists, a lot of them. And I said, okay, what's happened to your problems now? He said, nobody's ever asked me that. He said, he stopped for a minute. He says, they're gone. He said, when you get the men right, first place they're going to start paying tithes.
Right,
and you're not losing that end of it and all. But he said, and also when you get men really taking their place in the home. And that really stuck with me, that maybe that's a lot of energy pastors should channel toward the men. Because it's easy to get the women to do things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I am a man, and I know that, there's certain things that speak to my heart that might not speak to yours or even to my wife's heart. And being able, there's a man in our church who's a fairly new believer, and he had just sent me a text message a couple days ago. He's been reading through the devotion, and he said, before this, I could not even begin to imagine Jesus as someone who wanted to be my friend.
Yes.
After all the things that I've done and the life that I've lived and the things that I feel like where I fall short, he said, I can't imagine that there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother, and that friend is Jesus.
I bet you cried when you read that, because I almost cried when you were telling me.
Absolutely.
And that's the name of it. He calls me friend.
Yeah.
Now, you've got 90 days here.
I do.
How did you choose the topics? I've read some of these, and like I said, I'm going to take it home and read it for myself, even if I'm not a guy. How do you choose topics?
Well, I began to read through the Gospels, and everywhere Jesus was interacting with other men or even women and children in a way that was relationship driven, those are the areas that I began to key in on. Even things like when Jesus fed the multitudes, the fish and the bread, he was there not just so that they could worship him, but so that he could have a meal with them. And we see Jesus all throughout the scriptures eating with people.
Yeah, they called him a glutton.
Yeah, Zacchaeus, Jesus, here's a little short guy that climbed a tree to try to just get a glimpse of Jesus. And so what did Jesus do? He goes to him and he singles him out and he says, hey, I'm coming to your house. That's what a friend does. A friend comes to your house and just sits back and talks with you, maybe drinks some coffee, shares a meal together. And we see that all throughout the Gospels. Jesus with Mary and Martha and Lazarus. Jesus seeking them out and wanting to be around them. He needed people. And we need people in our lives as well. And I think that we forget as men sometimes that we don't have to just be inward. That we're not trying to do this thing by ourselves. There's a lot of people around us that we can reach out to and pull close. And I think really that's one of the things that made Jesus' ministry so effective. He wasn't a Lone Ranger.
He's so personable.
Yeah, well, here's what I always say. Children didn't flock to Jesus because they wanted a lesson in homiletics. They flocked to him because he was awesome. He was awesome. And so I think there's a story in the book about how Jesus attracted more kids than the ice cream truck. Because, I mean, we all know the sound of the ice cream truck.
Oh, yes, and the disciples got in a snit about it, said, you know, these kids are coming around here.
I know.
Jesus
and
said,
they
cool it.
you know, just like kids now run to the ice cream truck when Jesus was walking through town, kids were just running to him. Because they just wanted to be around him. I think his personality was very, very inviting, and I think we forget that we can approach him on that level, and come to him and say, Jesus, you're my friend. I'm struggling today. Maybe I'm thinking bad thoughts, or maybe I had a bad attitude with my boss, or I don't feel like I'm measuring up as a husband. What do you have to say to me? And I think we forget that help is there for us, and it's available.
If you've just joined me, I'm talking to the author of this book, which I highly recommend. He Calls Me Friend. It's a devotional for men. And the information's on your screen. You can get the book through that website, or I'm sure a lot of other outlets.
Yeah, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere books are sold.
It's called He Calls Me Friend. How come 90?
Well, I think 90 for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to spend enough time explaining this man Jesus, and so 90 seemed like a fairly short amount of days. I could have probably spent 200 days trying to explain who Jesus is, but I think after 90 days, you're going to begin to get a good idea of just what kind of relationship that you can have with him. And one thing that's kind of interesting, one of my editors is a woman, and she's reading this and she said, this isn't just for men, this is for me. This is, I don't know why
That's
it's just
great.
for men, because this stuff is speaking directly to me as well. And so, you know, I mean, yeah, it's great for men, but I think it's also great for anyone who would be looking to build stronger connection with Jesus.
Well, I know you're involved in this kind of thing, and my heart breaks that the Christian bookstores are closing down.
They are.
Everywhere.
Yeah, Lifeway just closed, actually.
And it's very, very sad. I know people buy online, but it's not like browsing through a bookstore. You also are a counselor, right?
I am. I had a professional counseling practice for many years. I have since shifted that counseling ministry to another church there in our city because I'm just so busy with writing. But what I have found out is that I write the way that I counsel people. And so I'm able to be much more effective in writing.
When you were doing that, is there just one significant problem that people bring? Is like there's number one and then number two is way down here.
Yeah.
What is
well,
it?
For me, I think, it's kind of like, it's kind of like the Apostle Paul said. He said, the things that I want to do, I don't do. And the things I said I would never do, I end up doing. And we all kind of have that. Don't you
love him?
Yeah, we all have that one thing. And I think it's different for everyone. So I can't really say that I could pinpoint one thing that would be on the top of the list. But I think we all have that go-to place where the enemy knows that's where I can go to. If I really want to create havoc in the life of that believer, I can go there. And so sometimes, as we were talking about this earlier, sometimes good people just make really bad choices. And it's the choice that ends up wrecking their lives or hijacking their future.
Well, some people just didn't get a fair deal growing up.
Right.
And even the school system today, a lot of times, I've said on this show many times, we don't paint public schools with a broad brush because there's some very great ones. But they're also teaching some things in some of them that are absolutely backstabbing the parents.
Absolutely.
Which somewhere is going to require more counseling, like you were doing, to untangle all that.
Absolutely. I think family life for a lot of people is just kind of like a big tangled up knot. And you have to go in and just pull the loops out individually, because if you pull on it, it just gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And my wife is a kindergarten teacher, and she can tell you that not every child that comes into her class is on the same playing field. Some of them come out of really difficult situations.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, and those kids are already starting with some behind the curve a little bit. And so I think, and I do think, back to the book, I think that's partly because maybe they don't have a dad in their life, or they don't have someone in their life that is modeling for them, what authentic Christianity actually looks like, and how that looks in the home every day. And so I do think a part of fixing what's broken in our schools starts at home and starts with mom and dad, right?
Well, yes, I think we have a fatherless generation,
Yeah.
which is huge, because when you read through the scripture, there's a whole lot more required of the father than the mother.
Absolutely.
And so Satan knows. He knows where to, make the greatest impression. That's all the more reason for this book. And it is for men. And I'm telling you, I don't know any Christian that's so great that they don't need some time alone with the Lord every day.
Absolutely.
With something to feed into their life. And my parents, that I remember, read Streams in the Desert. Does
Okay,
that?
yeah,
Yes, and I
yeah.
read that all the way through. That's probably 100 years old.
Yeah,
that book.
yeah.
But we need those daily. We just need that daily food all the time. And I want to commend you for not only is it very well written, I really think men would read this.
I do. Most men are like me. We have a short attention span.
Like a gnat,
so,
maybe?
Yes. And so what I tried to do was create something that you could read in 2 minutes and yet get some substance out of that. And so every day begins with a verse, and then there is about 2 minutes of content, and then at the end there's a quote or maybe a reflection that you can draw from that. So you could sit down and read the entire book in an hour if you wanted to. But hey, everyone has 2 minutes, right? You get up, start your
Absolutely,
day every morning,
yes.
2-minute devotional, get some word in you, get some good thoughts stirring in you, makes the day go better.
And you get up and you need your coffee and you need a shower and you need a lot of things, and your soul needs some input. Your soul
Absolutely.
needs some food for the day.
Yeah, well, when I start my day with the word, I'm a better person that day.
Absolutely.
I make better choices, that's for sure.
Absolutely. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Keep us informed. I'm sure you're writing other things.
I will.
And what a joy it is to bring you this kind of information. And a lot of you really indicate you appreciate so much the books and things that we talk about. You go out and get them. They bless your life. And so it's a privilege to bring this to you. And we are out of time, but join me next time, friends, remembering there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you should miss a Homekeepers program, you can catch up by going to www.ctnonline.com. Click on CTN Programs and then on Homekeepers.